Did you know that a single presidential tweet about tariffs once wiped $1.4 trillion off global stock markets in a single day? Tariffs, seemingly simple taxes that can reshape entire economies, trigger trade wars, and affect the price of everything from your smartphone to your morning coffee. In this video, we'll explain how tariffs actually work, why they matter, and the heated debate around them that's been raging for centuries. But before we get into the drama, let's make sure we understand the basics. At their simplest, tariffs are taxes imposed by governments on imported goods. When a product crosses a border, the importing country can charge a fee, either a percentage of the product's value or a specific amount per unit. For example, if the US places a 25% tariff on imported steel, a company importing $100,000 worth of steel would pay $25,000 in tariff duties to the US government. But tariffs aren't just about raising revenue, they serve three main purposes: protecting domestic industries from foreign competition, responding to unfair trade practices by other countries, and acting as bargaining chips in international negotiations. This isn't a new invention. Tariffs have actually shaped world history more than you might think. Tariffs have been around for centuries. In fact, before income taxes became common, they were a primary source of government revenue. The very first US Congress passed a Tariff Act in 1798, making it one of America's oldest policy tools. Throughout history, tariffs have sparked everything from diplomatic tensions to actual wars. The US Civil War was partly triggered by disputes over tariff policies between northern and southern states. But how do tariffs actually affect the economy? Let's break it down. When a country imposes tariffs, several things happen. 1. Imported goods become more expensive, which can benefit domestic producers by making their products relatively cheaper. A US steel company might be able to compete better against foreign steel when imports face a 25% markup. 1. Consumers typically pay higher prices. That smartphone in your pocket? If it contains components hit by tariffs, you probably paid more for it than you would have otherwise. 1. Supply chains get disrupted. Modern manufacturing often involves components crossing borders multiple times before a product is finished. Tariffs can complicate this process and increase costs at each step. Finally, other countries usually retaliate with their own tariffs. When the US placed tariffs on Chinese goods in 2019, China responded with tariffs on American products, particularly targeting agricultural exports like soybeans. American farmers saw their exports to China drop by over 70% in just 1 year. Let's see how this plays out with a real example most of us can relate to. Consider the humble washing machine. In 2018, the US imposed a 20% tariff on imported washing machines. What happened? Domestic washing machine prices rose by about 12%, not just for imported machines but American-made ones too, as domestic manufacturers took advantage of reduced competition. Meanwhile, American washing machine manufacturers added about 1,800 jobs. So consumers paid more, but some workers benefited. At the same time, South Korean manufacturers like Samsung and LG, facing these tariffs, decided to open new factories in the US instead of importing, creating jobs but also showing how companies adapt to tariff environments in unexpected ways. With effects this complex, it's no wonder tariffs remain so controversial. Let's look at both sides. Those who support tariffs argue that they protect vital domestic industries and jobs, level the playing field against countries with unfair trade practices, preserve national security by reducing dependence on foreign suppliers, and can be effective bargaining tools in trade negotiations. Critics counter that tariffs act as a tax on consumers through higher prices, invite retaliation that harms exporters, reduce economic efficiency by protecting less competitive industries, and often hurt more workers than they help, particularly in downstream industries. Most economists tend to favor free trade, arguing that while tariffs create visible winners, protected industries, they create less visible but more numerous losers, consumers and related industries. So where does that leave us? Tariffs remain one of the most powerful yet controversial economic tools governments have. They're not inherently good or bad. They're complex policy instruments with wide-ranging effects that go far beyond simple tax collection. Next time you hear about new tariffs in the news, you'll understand what's really at stake. A delicate balancing act between protecting domestic interests and participating in global trade, between short-term political gains and long-term economic consequences. The debate around tariffs has lasted centuries and isn't ending anytime soon. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, please like and subscribe.